We're excited to announce that we're bringing back Sauna Camp 2.0 on March 20th from 2 to 8 p.m. We had this last year. We had 42 owners. This year, we're maxing out the capacity of the camp, which is going to be 60 people. We're going to have a wellness panel with some Everest summiters, as well as some Iron men and women to compete, and all about wellness and how they prioritize their health and wellness, not only in training, but in their lifestyles and in their business. And then we're going to have a 2-hour window of sauna and cold plunging in the lake, and then an amazing wood-fired grill, Mediterranean-style food at the end of that. So if you're interested, please head to curiousbuilder.com. Under retreats, you'll find everything there is about Sauna Camp on March 20th in Minnesota. I think sometimes when people don't understand, someone might say, oh, why do you talk so much about yourself? Or why do you have a podcast? Or they're sort of missing the whole point.
Right.
The whole point is just, you and I feel very comfortable sharing our thoughts and feelings to whoever's listening. And if our story or the stories we share help somebody else, most of them, we don't even know who's being helped. Welcome to the Curious Builder Podcast. I'm Mark Williams, your host. Today, we have a 4-time repeat guest of the month, Morgan Molitor, Construction to Style, and Contractor Coalition Summit OG. Hey, Morgs.
Hello. How's it going?
Oh, it's going great. Anytime you and I get the time together, we just spent 5 days together in Chicago.
I know.
That was a ball.
Crazy.
But we, you have the record by a long shot. I think you're 2 up on
podcast.
Probably Brad.
Being your guest.
Levitt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Brad probably. I think he's been on 3. You've been on 4.
I'm above Brad.
Maybe he's only at
First
2,
time in my
actually.
life.
Oh, please. He might be taller. You're way bigger profile.
Oh my gosh, whatever.
So we're on a Thursday episode. This isn't our Monday. And we have our Losers or Winners series, which will keep going. And I think I know for the Contractor Coalition, we're going to have a podcast once a month called Therapy Thursday. So this is going to be our bellwether episode on this. You and I were chatting just of how emotional the Contractor Coalition was. The people we met, some of the conversations, and actually a year and a half ago was the last time you were on. We talked about mental health.
Last time I was on.
I think it was in January of, I don't know. I'd have to go back and look. But oddly enough, the topic is still the same. And
probably been worse.
Oh, it's way worse.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to get on and chat a little bit about your thoughts, my thoughts, and really just let people know in general, like entrepreneurship, building, it's really hard.
Really hard. Yeah. And now that I think about it too. So we've been home 1 day. Well, we're on our 2nd day and now I'm seeing you. So we're just like digesting and sharing. But yesterday we were texting each other, just being like, we're still processing like all the conversations, all the deepness of it. And it was so weird. I was telling our team in the office yesterday, just all the highs and lows, like extreme, moving into yesterday too. And then we heard additional news of some of our wonderful Contractor Coalition attendee actually. And it was just like, wow, just the roller coaster of, what we're doing is so
there's a death.
much.
Yeah, Ron Jensen out in Utah passed away on Friday.
While we were at the Contractor Coalition.
We didn't find out about it till yesterday, was it? Tuesday?
Yeah.
I called Nathan Marsala, asked him if he knew about it, and called a few other people out in Utah. No one really knew much about it. We sent some flowers, and obviously, it seems like flowers seem like such a
do nothing.
Not empty, not hollow. You just hardly know what to do in a time of grief. And I didn't know him super well, but it had interacted with him a number of times at Contractor Coalition. I had actually interviewed with him to try to get him into my Builder 20 group.
Wow. Okay.
A couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And we had there was a conflict just because he was close to Nathan actually in Utah. Yeah. So that didn't really work out. But, he'd show up at the Monday, the builder meetups at IBS.
Yeah, always. And he was in Minneapolis, and just takes me back to the discussions, I personally had with him and a lot of other people. And it's just like, he was going through the same hardships, heaviness, like that the rest of us were. And it just really made me think differently about what we're doing in these rooms at Contractor Coalition and how much it matters. Because I just remember him leaving Minneapolis too and being like, I'm so glad I came here. And now I'm just like, oh my gosh. And he's like, you have no idea, like the level of impact and difference and some of these things that I really need like right now to go home to and implement. And it's just like, now it's taking me back to stories at Contractor Coalition, just here in Chicago, and the stories I heard that people were vulnerable and shared. And, I didn't realize one example was with someone who showed up in Minneapolis and I had no idea what he was going through in Minneapolis. And he took home and implemented some of these things and now showed up in Chicago and said just how much that impacted and what he was going through. He was going through a legal battle and all of these things. And I was like, I had no idea he was carrying all of that in the room that day, and now the difference that he was able to implement within just a couple of days of leaving Minneapolis that has now like got him back on his feet in more ways than one and was able to show up in Chicago and share that. And I'm like, how many people are staying in the room going through a lot even heavier things that aren't speaking up or sharing things because it's really hard, especially for men.
I think one of the things that you and I agree on, and one of the things that I've really enjoyed for the last couple of years having the podcast is, and while it's a podcast about entrepreneurship, it's really a podcast about people and connection and being authentic and being real. The interviews that I enjoy the most, enjoy is maybe the wrong word. The ones that I get the most satisfaction are the ones where people go the deepest. A couple come to mind. One was where Laura from Taze & Co. Shared kind of imposter syndrome, and she shared just how she didn't really believe in her own self-worth, and like a lot of people, confidence is the thing that they often struggle with,
right?
Where their place is. And I remember asking Doug Duvall, who's our producer on many podcasts. He used to produce this show as well. And he's a good friend of ours at Contractor Coalition podcast and just all the videography. I had asked him, he's been at 7 out of the 8 Contractor Coalition summits. And I asked him, was there a thread through all of them? And he said, bar none, confidence. Confidence was the single thread that he saw people, how they came and how they left.
Yeah.
And confidence was his response. And you see people, that story you just shared, you and I know some of the details that, we don't need to necessarily share all the details, but just that when people realize that being an entrepreneur, they're not alone, the struggles, the client, self-worth, the financial struggles, emotional struggles,
right?
All the things. And there's a lot of joy too. I mean, we're focusing on the negative things, but there's a lot of joy too. But the camaraderie of being able to share it. And I think what you were alluding to is that, building is a male dominated industry. We would both love to see more women in it. And I think women like yourself and, like our friend Danielle and Katie Cat. I mean, we have so many friends that are in it that we love and they just do so well. Like my daughter, I hope May has an interest in it. She would just crush.
Yeah.
And, oh boy, the world, if you think I'm a lot, wait till she comes along. But anyway, just an avenue to share and to realize that this is really hard.
Right. And that you're not alone and that, and it's, I think too, like in society, so much, and we talked about this on another podcast, but it's like, leaning into things, and sometimes we're told or what have you is like, if you don't follow through to the end, you lost or you quit or you gave up. And it's like, especially when you're an entrepreneur, it's like those things, you don't want to be titled as that. And so sharing some of these really vulnerable moments and times, like in a sense that can be like, you've gave up or you quit or you couldn't figure it out or you couldn't win at that certain situation. And so just that's really hard for people in general, but I think specifically for men too, because they don't want to be put in that category or that box.
Or they don't even know they can share.
Right.
They're not even aware of who to share it with. I think, the bond of friendship and camaraderie that exists, whoever your people are. I think I've often described myself now as like kind of like a coach, and I use the analogy of running, but like, I don't care if someone can run a 30-minute mile or a 40-minute mile. Like you just want your community, you want to cheer them on. Right. I feel like regardless of where somebody comes to the Contractor Coalition, whether they're doing $100,000 a year in revevenue or $50 million a year in revenue, like I just want them to be the best versions of themselves when they go forward. Same for us. I mean, look at how far our respective, not careers, but like just that's personal growth.
Right.
I think your personal growth is tied to your company growth.
100%. Yes.
And I mentioned this before. I don't think, not all the time, I should be clear, because like I think what happens, one of the issues that you have sometimes is if your personal identity is so wrapped up in your business and your business fails, then I think that's a problem true. Because then you think you're a failure. That's not true. I think those are independent things.
Right.
Now it's kind of like if one is good, both can be good.
Right.
If one is bad, you can still be good.
Right.
And like I think that's important for people to remember.
Right. Yeah, that is. And I can't remember if it was you or someone else, but we were just talking about like, actually it was Katie Kath. And yeah, you were at that dinner, a happy hour conversation too, but just all she wants is like for her kids to like be filled with joy. Like it doesn't even matter now that they're older. Like that is the end goal. Like no matter what it is you put your mind to, but like you can't teach that. Like you have to fill your own cup with joy. And so I've just been thinking about that too when it comes to my kids or my family or my team. And it's like I can do my best to put people on my team in the positions that truly light them up. And I feel like that's something I preached for a long time is like, I don't want my team to be doing things that is just like life soul sucking is what I always say. I'm like, I just want them to be happy. And I'm trying to help like guide that and curate that. But then, yeah, it's just made me think more about like myself and what I'm doing every day and what just depletes me and what lights me up. And then I think about clients of ours and what, I just want them to be excited about these projects that we're doing. And we only get to choose so many projects a year. That's also what's been going through my mind. So I'm like, the projects that we get to work on, I want those to be like just filled with joy for everybody. I'd always preach like your home, like we want to build something for our clients where it sparks joy. But I was like, throughout the process, it's just like because it's going to be hard. It's going to suck many times, and but you just got to be in alignment and partnership. But like, I just want everyone to be happy. And it sounds like such a simple thing, but actually it's really hard.
When it comes to quality, craftsmanship, and performance, Pella sets the standard. Whether you're building custom homes or designing a timeless space, Pella offers innovative window and door solutions that blend beauty and efficiency. With showrooms and experts around the country, Pella makes it easy to find the perfect fit for your next project and their team to support it. Build with confidence, build with Pella. Visit Pella.com to explore products and connect with your local rep today. For more information, you can listen to episode 1 or listen to episode 109, where we bring on Pella owners and founders at Pella Northland, as well as their innovative team behind the Steady Set innovation. I was really excited for me to be able to give that little half-hour talk, the Boundaries Create Freedom, and the number of people that came up after and throughout the next couple of days that just said thank you for sharing. I won't go into all of it right now, but what was reminding me of is time management. You're just talking about your kids, and one of the things that I shared, it was why we're always busy. There's always something to do, and I'd heard recently someone was lamenting the fact that they couldn't sell their business to their kids. Their kids didn't want it. And there's a whole generation of children that don't want their parents' business. And the person that was sharing the story said, well, is it any wonder why? And all they saw from you as a business owner was how hard you worked. When you were at their sporting events, you were on your computer, or maybe you didn't even make it to their events, or all these different things. And so why a child's connotation with your business is a negative one, not a positive one, the way this person was illustrating. And it reminded me that, I can make excuses better. I can really make good excuses.
Yeah.
And so it's like, let's say I'm at May's gymnastic practice and I'm like, I got to cut up on emails. Like tonight, May has gymnastics from 7 to 8. So in the past, I would always, whenever I go, I'd say next time I'm not going to bring my computer. But I always bring my computer and I get as many emails as I can get done. But tonight, I'm not even going to bring my computer because I feel just kind of convicted in my heart. Like I just need to be present. Like she's 9. There's just a handful of years and she's gone. And like, will I remember the emails I send on? No. But will I remember her little back tuck flip or her laughing with her friends or whatever? And I can just be present. And if nothing else, like every kid wants their parent to watch me, watch me. I can do that. And so anyway, and again, there's no judgment there. Like everyone has to do their own thing. But I think by sharing the story, it's just kind of like lay the hammer down. The forge will be there tomorrow morning.
Right. Oh my gosh. And what's interesting about that too is, so yesterday, getting the kids up, ready out the door. And usually if one of us, we kind of divide and conquer and the other one's already working, and we work from home for the most part. But Ellie always tries to get ready with me, and she's 5 and she's basically 15. But, she put on some of my little lipstick or a little lip gloss or whatever and just did her hair like me, put it in like a high bun pony and just had a cute outfit on. And she went downstairs and I didn't know what she was doing, but she came back upstairs and she's like, Mom, Dad saw me and he didn't even tell me I'm pretty. And I was kind of like, what? And he's like, and then she's like, he's downstairs. And I went downstairs and I walked around the corner And he looked, because I go, did he see you? And he's like, yeah, he looked right at me and didn't even tell me I was pretty. And then I was like, kind of thinking like, well, that's weird. And then she was like, he was on the phone. And what's so interesting is he was on the phone with a client we actually ended up letting go yesterday. And yeah. And so I'm just like, how crazy. And I just like had a moment, and I thought of what you said about just watching your kids with, but I was like, that was so important to her, like for her dad to say she's pretty. And so he got off the phone. I was like, Jamie, Elliot said you walked over, and he was like, oh my gosh, Ellie, you're so pretty, and went on and on. But yeah, I just sat there and I'm like, okay, this specific client has been, and we had a couple of weeks where we're like, whoa, what's happening? I have done a ton of pre-con construction work that obviously they can't fully see. And just we're told a few words to, we talked about this on the other podcast actually, or episode at Contractor Coalition, but it's like this client specifically, called Jamie incompetent 5 times on the phone. And like, then I had this moment too where I'm like, okay, now you're on the phone again, with internal team, just trying to figure out like, okay, what should we do? Numbers. Topher had already been out there that morning with another subcontractor, and we're just trying to get these numbers in line. And anyway, I just had a moment of clarity where I was like, okay, like what's happening here? Like we already know, doesn't feel good. And so, yeah, just like that, it's like, all right.
So you fired him, you returned your deposit. You were telling me about it. How did they take it? What'd they say?
They basically said, perfect, great. I don't think we were in alignment either. And it was great. I was like, couldn't have been a better ending. But unfortunately, it's like, wow, to not see or know, like there's no thank you, this or that. Obviously, there's 2 sides to every story, but it's just like, we've been hustling behind the scenes, contract was signed, deposit was made, but like now refiguring out how to get in alignment with some of the things that they wanted to have incorporated to fit within their budget. So we were trying to get creative, and we were cutting our own costs. Like we had totally waived our design fee, which hello, red flag. But again, we just wanted to like get this moving like a lot of us do. And that was something at Contractor Coalition I was reminded, like we're feeling this pressure to get it moving. We had some stats and stuff that all of you guys and Brad and Nick had pulled up, and it's just like, okay. And everyone wants to get it cruising, right? Because it's like, the more you wait on things, the more money that's going out the window. But there's just these things that we need to get down in pricing. And without Contractor Coalition, honestly, I think we would have like kept on moving, and we'd have been bullied the whole time and treated like crap. And at Contractor Coalition, someone said to me, they're like, think about this. We're coming in the holidays. Like this is going to be your Thanksgiving, your Christmas. And how are you going to remember it? And that hit me hard, because I was like, we are going to be so stressed. Jamie is going to have to probably not go with us to my hometown of Rose over Thanksgiving, because he's going to have to work, which happens all the time. And I was like, wow, because I can remember every single one of my kids' births, and I can name the client. I can see their face. Like I had C-sections for all my kids, and every single one of them, day 3, the day I got out of the hospital, I was figuring out problems. One, I was at a client job site trying to,
you were at a client job site 3 days after delivering a baby?
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy.
And like all that I can pinpoint, right? And I'm like, it's like, wow, what? Like that's wild. But
that is wild, actually. I mean, the only way to top that is be like, I had a baby on the job site.
They didn't care. Yeah. Oh yeah. But yeah, even looking back, I'm like, they didn't care. Like that didn't even help anything anyway. How hilarious is that?
I think
so. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Wow. There's a lot to unpack there. That's pretty wild. We, shout out to Jackson Schwartz. I've brought this up a number of times. He was the first live podcast I ever did. Were you at that one?
Yeah,
the one that had open? And that still stands out as one of my favorite. Mainly it was the first time, it was year 1. I think it was only 6 months into the podcasting, and it was my first live event. I had this idea of just like putting on, no one had done it before in our market. So I'm like, I'm just going to do it. Yeah. And it was just so fulfilling for me. I was still a highlight, and such an interesting person, but he said something that has had a huge impact on on me, on my business, and the people that work with me. And he shared, so we've always obviously shut down the week of Christmas, but he took it one step further. We actually he said he shuts down for 2 weeks. And this was in, I think when I interviewed him, it was like June. And so I made the decision right then and there. I blocked it out on the calendar the next day, that we now, since then, so it's been 3 years, that we always take off 2 weeks over Christmas. Okay. Now we tell our, our clients ahead of time. Yeah. But it was 2 reasons. One is, recharging, let people get some downtime, space to think, but also like everyone expects the week of. But the
Right.
week really between Christmas and New Year's, not much stuff gets done anyway
True.
because you're emailing people out of office. It's just very herky jerky. Wouldn't it
Yeah.
all be better just to take it off,
Right.
reset, and refocus on the new year? So
Yeah.
we made that decision, but he took it one step further. He said that every 6 months, meaning that July 4th, he also gives his people a week off. And I was like, that was really inspiring. So
Yeah.
I couldn't do it then because it was in June. It was only a couple weeks.
Yeah.
But I went to the following year and blocked off
you did?
off
Wow.
the week. So we have the week of July 4th off every
Yep.
year and 2 weeks around Christmas.
Okay.
And sure, as owners, do we sometimes slip in and take care of stuff? Sure.
Yeah.
But we do have the auto, we let
Yep.
our people know. And like, does the project manager maybe have to do a few emails just to make sure if you have
Right.
an active job and there are
Yeah.
other people? I don't want to be disrespectful. Like if a cabinet shop is working and they choose to work as a
Yep.
subcontractor, like they can do what they
Right.
want as long as we let them know ahead of time.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's
amazing. And
Yeah.
Nick does that too. Nick Schiffer.
Does he really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
good. I'm a little surprised actually.
Yeah. He's
Good for
done that
him.
for a while. Yeah. July and Christmas.
Yeah.
I still haven't done it. I probably should.
It's I took it one step further for myself because last Christmas we stayed home as a family and we ended up traveling later. And what I found is I was able to work on the business
Yes.
versus working in the
Yep.
business. And I've talked about that a lot in the podcast. Like
Mhm.
currently I have a job. I
Yeah.
don't have a business,
Yeah.
which is kind of sobering, right?
Yeah.
Like if I leave, my company doesn't work.
Right.
Which is kind of a real bummer. And so I need to sort of figure
Do
that
they
out.
listen to this podcast?
What's that? I need to listen to my own podcast here.
No, do they listen to the
Oh,
podcast?
no, I don't think so.
Okay.
No, they know that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I mean, they can operate for a couple months.
Yeah.
But like, obviously, I incorporate all the sales, all the relationships,
Right.
the client,
Yes.
But since I've hired Angie, she's
Yep.
like a unicorn. She's amazing. So that's been a
Amazing.
huge
Yeah.
step. Eventually, I'll have to replace myself if I
Yeah.
want this to exist without me, which would be great. I'd love
Yep.
to replace myself.
Yeah.
But where I was going with this clumsily is, that time to sort of reset. So I got so much done. I sort of reset my calendar, my time blocks.
Mhm.
And now once a quarter, I don't take any meetings. Once a quarter, it's a recurring like weekly block.
Okay.
And then I just reset all my calendar blocks. So like I
Okay.
block a lot
Yeah.
of my time,
Yep.
but then I find that after a while, I've put too many things in and
Right.
I'm just deleting them and they're not being effective. So I feel like I have to sort of like clean the cupboards and
Yep.
reset the deck.
I love it. Yes. Yep.
Anyway,
Amazing.
trying to get mental headspace again.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, it's constant. What did we were talking a little bit ahead of time about just the need there were so many amazing conversations that we had
Mm-hmm.
specifically around mental health and emotional stress of owning a business. What were some of the conversations that you had this last weekend in Chicago that sort of hit you hard?
Oh my gosh. There's so many. And it's hard too to talk about this because it's like I don't necessarily want to tell someone else's story, but it's like I just think the common denominator, it doesn't matter how big you are or how small you are. Like we have the Brad Levitts of the world and we have the construction styles of the world, and it's like it doesn't matter. We all carry the same burdens, whether it's emotionally or financially. It's a lot. And just hearing that, like we're going there to work on our business and figure things out, and we can talk through processes and how to scale and how to brand something and how to do social media and how to do AI and how to do all these things, right? And like we can figure that out. But the one thing that like we can't figure out is this like carrying that emotional burden or weight, which can also be financially with clients, right? But it's that constant, those are two things. And it's like, I don't know if that's something that you can figure out without, like I said earlier, I was like, it makes me mad, and especially then hearing about Ron, it's just like, and then going back in my mind and thinking about other people in my life who have committed suicide and like, and this can be any industry, right? And I'm just like, it makes me so mad because I'm just like, wake up world. Like, what are we doing? Like, why are we like, we're not even taking each other out. We're taking ourselves out because that's how sad we are. So I'm just like, why are we treating other people the way we're potentially treating them? I don't care if it's a homeowner and you're talking to your contractor like that. I don't care if it's a contractor and you're talking to, your subcontractor, or if you're some person driving on the street and you're getting mad at someone else driving on the street. I'm just like, everyone calm down and slow down and like be nice.
This episode is brought to you by Adaptive. If you're still chasing checks and juggling spreadsheets, it's time to upgrade. Adaptive is revolutionizing how builders get paid with AI-powered bill pay, automated draws, one-click payments, and built-in lien waivers. Faster payments, fewer headaches, and total visibility. Adaptive takes care of the back-end chaos so you can focus on what you do best, building. We've used Adaptive for 2.5 years and trust them to keep our projects moving and payments flowing. Learn more at adaptive.build and simplify the pay process today. For more information, you can also listen to episode 10 and episode 15.
As parents, there's this movement going around like, we got to get kids to stop bullying one another. And I'm like, let's wake up and get adults to stop bullying one another. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, kind of what you said with, how do I expect this if I'm not doing it? It's like, how do we expect this out of our schools and our kids and all this if we're doing all that stuff to one another? Like, how gross is that?
Well, and what the outlet is, I mean, there's an outlet of, obviously there's a therapy aspect of just talking about it, name it to tame it, which I think kind of what we're doing right now, discussing it openly. Having, you and I are very social creatures, so we do have a large network that we can talk to, but a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
And I do think, not that I have a great experience of this, but I do think looking on that mental stability and having a network of people that support you and that you can talk to without judgment is highly crucial to mental health and to you feeling good. Like, I've talked a lot about just, let's say, the ultra running group that I train with. A lot of it, I'm spending 4 or 5 days a week with these people for hours at a time. I mean, they know everything about my life. Yeah. That ultimately is exercise therapy on the run, right?
Right.
And so I just think it's really important. I feel for the people that I can't tell if it's self-selection, like they choose to be alone, or if they just don't choose to reach out. And I don't know if they're different or not.
I also think there's this huge certain, right? Like whatever the generation was, but we were taught to keep it to ourselves, keep things inside, don't talk about it. And I'm like, that to me, I mean, that ship sailed a long time ago with me, but I see so often that's still happening within people within our life. And I'm like, man, that'd be so hard to live a life like that. And so even that kind of stuff, just with the different generations, I'm like, yeah, I just totally interrupted you and said
no, not at all. I mean, I think just the sharing. And I think, one of the things that we've talked about.
Or understanding that too, like what you're saying, understanding that the generations are.
Yeah, I think they're different. They're more open. It's like a support. Again, it's not one of judgment. It's sometimes just listening. We heard a story from somebody, that opening night mic. Yeah. That's fun to say. We had people share the most difficult business thing that they've shared or had in their career as a way to sort of break down the walls and foster that, that openness. And some of the stories that were shared were super deep, real quick. Yeah. And it really set the tone for the whole weekend. And the number of texts that we have gotten and conversations that we've had since then of just feeling listened and heard. One gentleman had just talked about on the open mic that there was a point in his career where he considered, taking his own life. And he had a friend, he told me this later, that called him every 15 minutes for 2 weeks. And he said, that friend saved my life. Yeah. And that's pretty powerful. Yeah. And so, he had just expressed gratitude and thanks for this amazing weekend. And he was the one I shared it with the group. I talked about it last week on the podcast. I actually read his text. But basically it was just, he had a difficult client and you had given a talk about AI on the last day. And he's a very emotional person and a beautiful person. And emotion is good. I don't think emotion is bad. It's just how we direct it. Is it outward or inward? Those types of things. And anyway, he used AI. He said, it would have taken me about 4 or 5 days to write this letter to a client about creating boundaries and whatnot. And he said, with AI, I did it in 12 minutes. And it was professional, not emotional. Yeah. And I am not wrecked emotionally because of it. Yeah. And I just thought that was
consume his mind for 4 days.
Right. And it was really, really, really powerful to hear that. Yeah. I love it when people share how they're helped.
Well, and you put up a boundary and you did a whole presentation on the boundaries. So it's like taking both of those and putting them together and taking action like immediately. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I think people strive for community. I think it's always been that way. I don't think that's new. I mean, you see like, cliques or groups. Right. I mean, honestly, didn't mean for gangs, right?
Right.
Like think about a
Yeah,
gang. No, I mean,
totally.
honestly, like, I don't know that much about gangs, but like
Yeah,
it's a form of community.
for
It's,
sure. Yeah.
where else do you go? And so like, I think as a society, what can we do to foster community?
Yeah.
And if you don't, you might be drawn into one that isn't great,
Right.
or you're alone, and then it's very difficult when you're always
Right.
alone.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know. So much.
A lot going on. How, especially around the holidays, I think,
Yeah.
I know I've read in the past that I think the highest, highest rates of suicides specifically are around the holidays.
Oh my gosh, you're right. I kind of forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're doing an episode. So we met him, shout out to Teddy Seipel. I'm trying to get him on the podcast here before Modern Craftsman. It's a race. It's an arms race. His story. Have you heard a little bit about his
No,
story?
I haven't.
You didn't hear his story?
No.
I have never. He's going to ask his wife if he can share it.
Okay. As you're about to share it, or
well,
what?
just high levels. That
Yeah,
I mean, for 2.5 hours on Sunday night.
Okay.
Nick had heard it the day before on Saturday.
Okay.
But it took him 2.5 hours to tell me the whole story.
Okay.
And I've never been this enthralled on a single story.
Oh wait, I heard this story. Yes.
It
Yes,
was
yes.
wild, wild story. And
Wild.
front
So
page
cool,
of the Wall Street Journal. Massive indictment, took like 3 years.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm inviting him on to share his story.
That's amazing. Also, I'd be like, what? All right. I think I said this to him. I'm like, I feel like Superman after that. Like, bring it on. I can get through anything in life.
and the power in sharing those stories is so, Nick, has been talking about 45 White Oak and the amount of stress he's under financially, and just trying to make sure this is a big win and all those things. It's a $12.5 million spec home in Boston. I've talked a lot about it on the podcast. And he told me, after listening to this wild story of Teddy's, he said, what's 12.5 million compared to 2.4 billion?
Yeah.
And
seriously.
he's like, maybe I should shoot for 20 million, because it is somewhat relative. And I do think it's really powerful to share these stories. I think sometimes when people don't understand, someone might say, oh, why do you talk so much about yourself? Or why do you have a podcast? Or they're sort of missing the whole point.
Right.
The whole point is just, you and I feel very comfortable sharing our thoughts and feelings to whoever's listening. And if our story or the stories we share help somebody else, most of them, we don't even know who's being helped.
Exactly.
But if they are, isn't that worth doing?
Yeah, 100%. No doubt in my mind.
And people on our team, right?
Yes, 100%. Yeah. And then they don't need to listen.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I know. I think of that too, because I'm like, and I've shared it on this podcast, going through some of our own things, personal and professionally. And yeah, just being around these people and hearing their stories. And I'm like, oh my, what was I crying about? Like, geez Louise. Like, because it's just, not to make one better or less, but it's just like, also, I would never, like, that was a big conversation with my husband and I on our way home. It's just like, how did we get through anything before 4 years ago when we started Contractor Coalition and have like fostered this community, because they are our best friends who understand. And one thing we were thinking about was like, when was the last time as an entrepreneur, builder, what have you, and actually Brad Robinson made me think about this, because he came in, and he was just checking in, and then we started chatting, and he was talking about, he was just at a friend situation, which he was like, it was amazing, it was a fun, but I was told, you talk about work too much. And he's like, I was just so excited to be here with this group of friends, because like, we get it and we understand. And so what Jamie and I were talking about is like, when has someone outside of that circle told us like, we're so proud of you. Like, I see what you're doing and it is so cool. Instead, what we hear is, don't talk about work so much. Well, then why don't you just quit? You're so busy. Like, all these things that are not, they don't understand, which that's what I remind myself. I'm like, but they're also not seeking to understand. That's what I love about you and our friendship. It's like, you're always leading with curiosity, or you're always seeking to understand. And so when Brad said that, then that led to Jamie and I on our way home, like, who are the people in our lives that are outside of this community that are constantly like way to go, or, it's not that. It's typically like, my gosh, why are you doing another thing? Like, oh, you don't have time for that, or no wonder, and it's just like, just made me think like, yep, I think I'm going to start to just be a little bit quieter around that, because it's like, this is what fills me. And I'm also like, how did we get to where we are without these people? Because I don't know.
Well, it's like another chapter. It's another fuel source.
Yeah.
It's another elevation of your airplane. There's a great quote. What was it? Your attitude affects your altitude. And so just think about flying high. When your attitude about the group that you're with, it affects, how high you can go. And I was just talking to a designer this morning for coffee, which is why I was late this morning to our meeting.
Yeah.
And she was at the curated event out in Utah. Brad was there too. It was by invite only.
Okay.
And she does incredibly high-end work. And she's like, there's like levels I wasn't even aware of.
Right.
And she's like,
Yes.
anyway, I guess my point in bringing it up was more about your altitude.
Yeah.
And just like, sometimes you need to be, you get used to your day to day, or you get used to, take me, for example. I've talked a lot about it 3 years ago. I'm like, why would a little builder in Minnesota be networking and associating with builders all over the country? Like, I build in Minnesota, and that was, even for someone as social as me, it was like a very narrow-minded, very limiting. It's like a horse with blinders on.
Right.
And when you pick your head up and you look around, you're like, oh, wow. Actually, you can have a business where the whole, forget the United States. It could go worldwide.
Oh my
You can go
gosh,
anything
totally.
you want.
Yep.
And so I think there really is no limit when there is a vision and there's openness and just
support and
network and support. And
Mm-hmm.
validation. And so I think the reason why because so many of us are entrepreneurs sort of in silos alone,
Right.
the idea that we get to have a team or a framework of a team is so enthralling.
Yes.
Because it's not that fun being alone all the time.
No.
It's way more
horrible.
enjoyable.
Actually.
Right? That being
Except
said,
for sometimes we need to be like put in a closet so we can get work done. So
or like when we're all five together and it's like, wait,
Yes.
we're all used, like when we had our planning
Yes.
session that Friday morning,
Mhm.
and most of us are pretty in line with our vision and
Yeah.
thoughts and what like that. But I've never been part of a team where if you're always sort of the captain of the ship, when you say something, whether it's a good idea or not, you
Yes.
just kind of do that. To have 5 alphas all
And
decide the same,
visionaries
you're like,
and forth. Yes, I
you're
know.
like, wait a minute. Okay, what are we doing? I think
Yep.
this. We've never really had a complete clashing. Everyone is sort of,
Yeah.
I think, seeing a common goal. And so
I was going to say it actually was really good,
mm-hmm.
but we also needed like 5 days and not 5 hours.
We need like a couple of days of just constant iteration.
Yes,
toward the
but
other.
it's going to be good.
Well, I want to respect your time and the audiences. This is way longer than our normal 20 minutes, but I just wanted to talk
Love
about
it.
where we're at and
Yeah.
some of the conversations we're having.
Thanks
Hopefully,
for having me.
you're welcome. See you later. Thanks for tuning in to the Curious Builder podcast. If you like this episode, do us a favor, share it with 3 other business owners. The best way that we can spread what we're doing is by word of mouth, and with your help, we can continue to help other curious builders expand their business. Please share it with your friends, like and review online, and thanks again for tuning in.